Rob. Welcome to Axel's Garage. We are out here with Bluey. Bluey is our 1987 two-wheel drive Chevy Suburban that we picked up roughly 6-8 months ago and drove it back from Lynchburg, Virginia. So we drove it about 500 miles or so, 500-mile trip home, ran like a top, drove it for a good 2 months, really using it like a Suburban should be used. We were loading it up and doing all kinds of things with it. And then my son-in-law Mark borrowed it and used it for a couple days and put a hole in the radiator. Not his fault. It has those fans. We did a video, and I'll link it up here, on the electric fans. The guy that I bought it from did his own homemade electric fan setup. The fans, although they don't seem to spin fast, seem to cool the truck down. We weren't having any trouble with the heating in the truck. Dual electric fans. However, I didn't notice, but one of the fans on the lower corner wasn't mounted on that corner. Each fan has 4 mounting spots where they have those, mounting zip ties that go through the radiator, and it was missing one. And the fan was kind of doing this up against the radiator, put a little hole in the radiator, finally wore through and put a little hole in it, and popped it. So what we've done so far, all we've done is drain the coolant out. It's been sitting for several weeks because we haven't had a chance to get to it. And the coolant's drained out, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the fans out, we're going to take the radiator out. I ordered a new radiator, and we are going to try to figure out a better solution for the fan mounting. So I went online and I searched around for those zip ties that go through, and every one that comes up as a fan mounting strap or tie or whatever you want to call it, it's got like this spring on it, and that causes the fans to move a little bit as they spin. The ones that hold coolers in place, like a tranny cooler, an oil cooler, or a power steering cooler that go through the radiator, they are more rigid and they hold it tight up against the radiator. So my concern is, are they rigid because it's not a mechanical part, it's just something that you were holding up against the radiator? With a fan, having a fan motor and the fan blade spinning, they have the springs on them, which make them a less rigid of a mount because of that vibration. Can you mount the fan, flat up against the radiator tight? I've done it. I did it in the Chevelle when I had an electric fan in the Chevelle, and I didn't have any problem with it wearing through the radiator. But I wonder if I can build some kind of mount on the new radiator. So we're going to get everything out. We're going to lay the fans on the new radiator. Maybe I'll get some metal strapping, and we'll see if we can come up with a mount where we can mount the fans to the metal strapping and the metal strapping to the radiator, so that we don't have any vibration of the fans up against the radiator, potentially causing another problem in the future. I want this to be a dead, solid, reliable truck, and it has been up until this point. It's converted over to carburation. Doesn't look real great. It's a little sloppy under the engine compartment where the fuel system is. I can neaten that up as time goes. However, I just need the cooling system to be rock solid, especially in the summer now. And it's got to hold coolant too. Can't be leaking, because you leak out all your coolant, no matter how good your fans are, it ain't gonna work. So if you remember what I did here, when I rewired the electric cooling fans, you can see these are the spring mounts that are on there, and they're not real tight, but this is the one down here. The fan was doing this, and we never picked up on that, and wore that hole through. These spring mounts actually, you just don't hold the radiator tight. I don't know, we'll have to figure something out. But when I did rewire the fans, I made connectors. So these fans plug into weather-tight connectors before they go into the relays. And now all I got to do is cut a couple of zip ties and unplug them, and the fans can come out with the radiator in one piece. I don't have to rewire or anything, just a couple of zip ties that neaten the wires up. So I'm glad I did that, because I think I had mentioned in the video that, if you have to take your cooling package out, it's a lot easier to put instead of having to cut the wires or rewire it, you just put a connector in and pull it all out as one piece. So that I'm glad I did. What I'm going to do now is I'll get a little pair of snips. I'll cut my zip ties that I have to cut. I have the upper and lower hoses already off. I got to get the transmission cooling lines off, and my overflow line, and pretty much the top of the radiator only has one mounting bracket, and it's bent and wearing into the radiator also. Not the best setup. Wow, that is wearing a hole into the top of the radiator. It didn't go through. But I did get new brackets. I got new rubbers, top and bottom. So hopefully when we put the radiator in, I did get a factory replacement radiator from Advance Auto, actually. Advance Auto is the best price at Advance Auto. It's a factory replacement. It's got plastic tanks on the side, aluminum core. It's the biggest radiator they had. I believe it's for a Suburban with a big block. I think that was the tree I went down when I ordered it, and we'll get it mounted in and mounted in the right way so it doesn't wear a hole in anything. This would have won through up here too. So if that didn't go, this would have went up here also. You got to make sure when you mount the radiators in that they're not rubbing and vibrating against a bracket or something, and you put a hole right through it. So I have my fan connectors disconnected. I'm just going to tuck them in over here. My training lines are off. My overflow hose is off, and then I took this bracket off. When I took this bracket off, it all just flopped forward. But I'll move the camera when I get it out, but you can see how it was digging in right here to the aluminum, and that was going to be a problem eventually. Actually, no, that's not going to be a problem, because this isn't part of the radiator. This is just a piece that's on top, so that wouldn't have been a problem. Looks like there's nut certs. I don't know what this radiator is for or was out of. Definitely some kind of universal fit. So here's our problem, which was the radiator doing this, and we're pretty much right through one of those tubes. Not sure which one. We'll figure it out once we get it off. But you can see how here there's no spring, and it's a little firmer. Here there's a spring, but this isn't even doing anything. Over here I got nothing. On the top we got a spring. That one's pretty tight, but this one's kind of loose. So that was our problem. Then say 12 volt 90 watt. They don't spin super fast, but they seem to do the job. So we're going to get these fans off, and we're going to see how we can mount them to the new radiator. Seem real sloppy. I mean, this one's definitely loose. The radiator started leaking right about here. I can't tell which one, but I'm guessing it's going to be this one right here. It was a small leak. They were able to use it the rest of the day by just, adding water every so often. It wasn't a crazy leak, but yeah, over here, these were ready to go also. And that's just from it bouncing around. This side actually looks much, much better. So let's get the new radiator, and let's see what we could do to make it nice. So here's the new radiator. You guys are looking at it upside down. I'm looking at it right side up. I got my transmission port. I got my heater hose port there. Low hose in the right spot, up hose in the right spot. And then we got the fans. Problem with the fans is we only have 6 of these little brackets that are supposed to go in it, and we got 8. We should have 8, so we're gonna have to figure something out with regards to that. Now this was mounted this way, which isn't how it should be mounted. It actually should be mounted this way with the wire going that, so that you're not getting water intrusion into the wire. So let's see how we can mount this. This one this way. I think I should drill a hole through the middle of all 4 of these tabs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to drill some holes through there, and this is going to hold this fan without moving, and I can put little rubber pads underneath to protect from any vibration. I think that's the way we're going to go. So this one, they're all going to go right in the middle. So I got a fan, one made in China, made in the PRC, and it's got the springs. It's just like the one, and the pads are really thin. And then I got Hayden, and I've used these before, like I said, on coolers, and I actually, with vibration pads, and I read it, and it says quickly fasten Hayden engine transmission oil coolers and Hayden electric fans. So you can use these for fans. I don't know what the deal is with those. I don't know what the deal is with those other ones that they want you to use there. But this is Hayden part number 210. Comes with nice beefy pads, but only 4 of them. So it's only, you're only putting pads on the in between the cooler and the radiator. You're not putting pads on the other side of the radiator where these guys sit. So I might use the thin pads that we took out of the old one just for these guys, just to give a little bit of cushion. So this guy is going to go on this one right here, like that, all the way to the top. Get my drill out of the way. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I could open this up and use these pads. Who knows? Alright, so these are supposed to go through, and the pads go on the, oh, that's nice. It's going to keep it just off of the radiator. I almost feel as though I should put some kind of washer so that the pad doesn't fall into the thing, just to hold it. I think that's a good idea. Let me see if I can find a small hold washer that's that big. Alright, so what I did was I put a small washer in between the pad and the radiator, just so that the pad doesn't, in between the pad and the fan, just so that the pad doesn't like get sucked into the open grooves in the fan, and it stays a little bit more firm. Then I adjusted the fan to where I want it to be, and I slid my zip ties, mounting ties. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it off the edge of the table so I can pull them all the way through. And I'm going to turn them so that there's as much surface area holding the fan as possible. All right, so I'm only going to get 3 in at a time because it's teetering. So now I have the pads from the spring kit. The spring mounting kit came with a bunch of pads, so I'm going to use these against the radiator, pretty much like this, so that I have a cushion on the other side of the radiator. And when you pull it in, it smushes the padding a little bit, and you know you got it now. You know you got it nice and tight. I'm not going to crank down on it yet until I get them all in. So with those 3 in, now I can flip the radiator up and put that last one in. You can see on this side here, just pull the tie through, put the pad through, put the end on, just like that. All right, so now I'll put a hand on this side and just give it a tighten. All right, now you can see here the fan itself isn't actually touching the radiator anymore. Got a little air gap in between, but it's sitting firmly on those pads, and even with a little bounce and cushion in it, it's not going to touch the radiator, and hopefully won't. And hopefully it won't, you know, dig into the radiator the way the other one did. So now I'm going to repeat this process with the other fan. And where do I have the other kit? Oh, I have another kit that I need to mount the other fan, another Hayden kit. All right, so on the bottom mounting, it just sits on these rubbers here. So I took a gamble. I ordered 2 different ones on the Amazon, bigger and a smaller, and these actually, the bigger work, and they fit perfectly. I don't know if the little tab is going to fit in the engine compartment in the bottom of the radiator support in the right spot. That's usually these Chinese repops. That's usually where the mistake is. But you don't really need the tab there as long as they're sitting on these. And we'll go over to the truck and see. Grab the second one for the bottom. So down in this groove, in the support here, you can see there's a hole, and this is supposed to, I know what it does, look at that. It's supposed to like really snap into the hole, but it never does. You could try to, you know, you could try from the bottom side. Here's the original one. You know, you could try to pull it with a pair of needle nose to get it to pop in, but really not that necessary as long as the radiator sits in them nice. And then this old crappy one we can take out. All right, so I had Robbie help me. There he is over there. The original big dummy makes an appearance, and we slid the radiator in place, and we got it sitting on the feet that it's supposed to be sitting on, or the pads, whichever you call it. And now I'm gonna we got new brackets for the top, and we got new pads for the top. All right, so the new Chinese rubbers are gonna go something like this. And then I got my power wire that I got to figure out whether I want it under or over. I think under is going to be better. And then you got your brackets. There is a right and a left. All right, well, I'm talking to a camera that wasn't on because the battery was dead, but we got everything hooked up. We filled the radiator up with water and started it up. Fans are working, and we're just adding as it starts to warm up. Hopefully we have no leaks. Fans sound nice, they're not rubbing, not vibrating. Radiator's in nice and solid with these Chinese brackets, but what are you gonna do? Alright, so I did it slow, neat as possible. It's really not more than an hour job if you're not filming and making stuff fit. Chinese brackets bad. Pads on Amazon good. I'll link everything in the description below. Radiator I like. The way it's mounted is nice. It's not going to rub against the radiator. Not going to vibrate and wear through it like it did. Hopefully this radiator seems just as big, if not bigger, than the one we took out. But no leaks that I could see. We ran it, topped it off, shut it off, topped it off, and now we're going to start using Bluey again. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll link everything we used in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.